What happens when a CEO goes undercover in one of his own stores and sees his part-time cashier reduced to tears in the break room? Peyton Stokes stood in his office at the top floor of the downtown building, watching the city move below him. 13 stores. His father had built them. Peyton had inherited them, and lately they'd been slipping. 3 straight months of customer service complaints. A few bad reviews, nothing dramatic but enough to get under his skin. Not from one store, from different ones. Scattered. Nothing clear to act on. He'd asked for reports. His district manager, Carla, kept things vague. Could be staffing issues, she said. We're stretched thin. He didn't want could be. He wanted the truth. So he made a decision. He would go undercover. Not as a customer. As a trainee. He picked a store. Store 11. On the edge of town. Not the worst performing, not the best. Just average. Quiet enough to slip in unnoticed, loud enough that if there was something wrong, he'd hear it. He shaved his beard, dyed his hair darker, and wore prescription glasses with plain lenses. No one at Store 11 had ever met him in person. He'd always dealt with their manager through Carla. And the name on his badge? Pete. Just Pete. When he walked through the automatic doors of Store 11 that Monday morning, no one gave him a second look. Hey, you the new guy? A tall woman in her 40s asked. Her name tag said Mirror Manager. Yeah. Pete, he said, holding out a hand. She looked him over like she was already tired. You're late. We start at 8 sharp. That clock in doesn't lie. It was 8:03. Sorry, he said. Don't say sorry. Just don't do it again, Mira replied, turning and walking away. Let's go. I don't babysit. He followed her through the store. It was neat, but something felt off. Too quiet even for a Monday. 3 workers on the floor. 1 cashier. Mira didn't introduce him to anyone. Stocked at end cap, she said, pointing to a display of cereal boxes. You got an hour. Don't mess up the pattern. She walked off without another word. The cereal boxes were stacked in a complicated rainbow pattern. He got to work. After 10 minutes, someone approached him. You're the new guy, right? A girl in a blue polo asked. Her name tag read Riley. Yeah, Pete. She smiled. I'm Riley. I usually work weekends, but they called me in today. Short on hands, as usual. He nodded. You work here long? Since January. Still part-time. I'm in school. They won't give me more than 20 hours, but I cover when I can. She looked tired, but her eyes were kind. She helped him fix one of the boxes he'd stacked wrong. You'll get used to Mira. She's blunt. That was putting it lightly. Around noon, he was told to take his lunch in the back. The break room was small, beige, and smelled like burnt coffee. Riley was already there, eating from a plastic container. She looked up as he came in. Hey! Hey! A few minutes later, the door flew open. What the hell is this? Myra's voice cut through the room. Riley stood up fast. Mira, you were just sitting on your ass while the front's backed up. You think you're special because you worked a full shift yesterday? Please. I was told I could take lunch now. Who told you that? Me? No. Get out there. You want more hours. Maybe try acting like you're worth the ones you got. Riley's face turned red. She looked at Peyton, then back at Mira. Okay. She grabbed her half-eaten lunch and walked out fast, eyes on the floor. Peyton stayed quiet. Anger twisted in his chest. Mira turned to him. You're not on break either. Let's go. He stood, followed her out. But inside, something had shifted. This wasn't staff being tired. This wasn't tight hours or a few bad reviews. This was something uglier. And he wasn't going to ignore it. Tuesday started colder. Peyton arrived early, still under the name Pete, and stood outside the store's employee entrance watching the sky turn from charcoal to a pale blue. Riley showed up just before the door unlocked, backpack slung over one shoulder and earbuds in. She looked surprised to see him. You beat me here, she said, pulling one earbud out. Figured I'd try not being late this time. She gave a faint nod. Good luck. They clocked in together. Mira wasn't in yet. The opening shift was being handled by a petite guy named Elias who moved fast and barely spoke. He ran a cart of clearance items out without looking up. Peyton had seen his type before: quiet, efficient, and overlooked. 10 minutes later, Mira came in with a large cup of coffee and a Bluetooth earpiece already in. She didn't greet anyone. "You?" she called out, pointing at Peyton. "Stockroom. There's a pallet of detergent that needs to hit aisle 7 before 9. Don't block the fire exit this time." She didn't wait for a response. The stockroom was cramped and dimly lit. Peyton found the pallet easily enough. As he started hauling boxes, Elias appeared beside him, lifting without being asked. "You don't talk much," Peyton said after a few minutes. "Quieter's faster." They worked side by side for half an hour. No small talk, no complaints, just a rhythm. Elias didn't stop once. "You always open?" Peyton asked eventually. 5 shifts a week. I close twice too. That's a lot for part-time." Elias shrugged. "Guess I'm just lucky." He didn't sound like he believed it. By mid-morning, the store was picking up. A middle-aged woman came in with her teenage son, asking where to find humidifiers. Peyton walked them to the right aisle and answered a few questions. It felt good to be helpful again, even in disguise. But at the register, things weren't going smoothly. Riley was alone at the front with 5 customers in line and no sign of backup. A man in a red windbreaker barked about a price discrepancy, holding up a bottle of vitamins. Riley apologized and offered to check the tag. The woman behind him sighed loudly. A toddler started crying 2 carts back. Peyton watched from the end cap. The phone at the service desk rang twice. No one answered. He spotted Mira near the office hallway, talking into her earpiece and typing on her phone. She turned her back as the line grew. When the windbreaker man raised his voice, Peyton stepped closer. Riley stayed calm, scanning items with practiced speed. But her eyes darted toward the hallway more than once. After the man stomped off, Mira finally walked over. "You call for backup?" "Yes," Riley said, not looking up. 3 times. Mira narrowed her eyes. "And you think I'm supposed to drop everything?" "There were 6 people in line." "Then maybe move faster." Peyton took a slow breath. Every inch of him wanted to step in, but he kept his cover. For now. That afternoon, he was assigned to help with a seasonal display setup in the garden section. Mira sent Elias to join him again. They worked in silence for a while, hanging string lights and stacking bags of soil. "You ever think about quitting?" Peyton asked, keeping his tone light. "Never said that," Elias replied. "Didn't say you did. Just asking." Elias glanced at him. "I got rent. And a little sister. She eats more than I do." Peyton nodded, not pushing further. By 4, he was back on the floor when he heard a crash from aisle 12. He jogged over and found a woman in her 60s on the ground, a toppled mop display beside her. Riley was already kneeling next to her. "I'm okay," the woman said, wincing. "Just slipped." "We should get you checked out," Riley said, pulling out her phone. "Do you want me to call someone?" Mira arrived seconds later, heels clicking fast. She looked at the woman on the floor, then at the broken display. She tripped. "No," Riley said quickly. "The floor's wet. I think something leaked from the top shelf." Mira crouched, touched the floor, and stood. "It's barely damp." "You should have seen this before it happened. I was on register." "Then maybe don't leave a customer waiting next time." Peyton stepped forward. "I can grab paper towels and help clean up." Mira didn't acknowledge him. Riley helped the woman sit up. "I'll walk her to the bench near the pharmacy." "No," Mira said. "You'll stay here and fix this mess. Pete can walk her." Peyton offered his arm. The woman took it, clearly shaken. Once she was seated, he returned to aisle 12. Mira was gone. Riley was wiping the floor and resetting the display with tight movements. "You okay?" he asked. "She could have broken something," Riley muttered. "And Mira cares more about the display than the person who fell." Peyton didn't reply. He knew what she meant. The rest of the day blurred. By closing, his back ached and his hands were scraped from handling inventory. But his mind was sharper than it had been in months. He stayed late, helping Elias break down boxes in the back. "You ever see Mira help on the floor?" he asked, tossing an empty package into the bin. Elias shook his head. "She says she's managing." "From where?" "Mostly the office. Or her car. Sometimes she leaves early." Peyton looked at the clock. It was just past 8. Mira had left at 6:30. The next morning he arrived even earlier. Riley was already there, sitting outside the employee door with her hoodie pulled tight around her head. "You're early," he said. "Didn't sleep much." He sat beside her on the curb. The air was still and cold. "You're good at this," he said. She didn't answer right away. "My mom's sick. MS. Sometimes I cover extra shifts to help with meds." Then softer, "I don't think Mira knows. I don't think she'd care." He looked at her, but she kept her eyes on the ground. Later that day, Peyton noticed a new face working the back corner of the store. A lanky young man arranging pet food. He seemed unsure, checking a sheet in his hand every few seconds. Peyton walked over. "Need a hand?" The guy looked up, startled. Thanks. I just started yesterday. They didn't show me much." "No one trained you?" "Not really. I got a list. Mira said to ask Elias if I had questions, but he was slammed." They worked together for a bit. Peyton showed him how to rotate stock, how to read the shelf tags. "You learn this fast," the guy said. "Old job." At one point Mira passed by. She didn't slow down. "Make sure the labels are facing forward," she called over her shoulder. The kid looked at Peyton. "Does she ever stop moving?" "Only to criticize." That evening Peyton stayed until after the store closed. He helped clean the front, returned stray carts, and logged out with Elias. Out in the parking lot, he leaned against his car and looked at the storefront. He had seen enough. He pulled out his phone and called Carla. "I need you at store 11 tomorrow." "Morning. We're doing a full review." She hesitated. "Is something wrong?" "I'll explain when you get here. And bring paperwork." He ended the call. The next morning he would walk in as himself, and Mira wouldn't see it coming. The next morning, Peyton parked further out than usual behind an old delivery van and waited until the lot began to fill. He watched the familiar blue polos file in. Riley, rubbing at her temple with one sleeve still damp from her hair, Elias carrying a plain lunch bag and unlocking the side door without a word. Mira arrived last, coffee in hand, stepping out of her SUV like she was walking onto a stage. She didn't look twice at the others. Carla's car pulled in moments later. Peyton stepped out, straightened his collar, and met her at the entrance. "You're not in disguise today," she said, eyeing his clean-shaven face and button-down shirt. Her voice was tight. "Not anymore," he said. "Let's get started." Inside, store 11 was already under its usual strain. One of the self-checkout stations flashed red. A customer hovered near the frozen section looking for help. Mira stood at the front counter, scrolling through her tablet. Peyton walked toward her with Carla at his side. Mira didn't look up until they were a few feet away. "Can I help you?" she started, then froze. "Mr. Stokes?" The change in her expression was sharp. Her posture straightened. The coffee cup lowered an inch. "You have a few minutes," Peyton said. "We need to talk." "In the office?" "Here will do." Mira glanced at Carla, then at the two cashiers within earshot. "Maybe we should hear," Peyton said again. She nodded stiffly. He turned slightly, addressing the floor staff. "Riley, could you ask Elias to cover the register for a few minutes?" She blinked, surprised, then glanced at Mira before responding. "Yeah, of course." Once the others had stepped back, Peyton turned fully to Mira. "I spent the last 3 days working the store. Stocking, helping customers, watching how this team runs. I didn't say who I was because I needed to see how things work when no one's watching." Mira forced a smile. "I wish you'd told me. We could have coordinated." "I didn't want coordination," Peyton interrupted. "I wanted reality." He paused, letting that hang. "Reality is seeing a cashier be rated in the break room for taking a scheduled lunch. It's watching a customer fall because a spill wasn't cleaned up than listening to the store manager care more about a display than the person who fell. It's watching the front line struggle while the person in charge disappears early. Myra's face reddened. There are reasons for some of that, she said. We've been short-staffed. I've been managing 3 rotating shifts and you haven't been managing, Peyton said. You've been delegating, disappearing, and treating people like liabilities instead of assets. She opened her mouth, but he held up a hand. This isn't a discussion. It's a decision. He turned to Carla. Effective immediately, Mira is relieved of her position. I don't want her in the building past this hour. Carla nodded. Understood. Myra's voice cracked slightly. You're firing me in front of staff? You humiliated people in front of staff. If you had shown half the respect to them that you're demanding now, we wouldn't be here. She stared at him for several seconds, then turned and walked toward the office without another word. Carla followed. Peyton exhaled slowly and looked around. Riley was standing just behind the shelving near the greeting cards, frozen. He approached her. You okay? Yeah. I just didn't think. She trailed off. You said something yesterday. That you didn't think she'd care. About your mom. About anything. He paused. You were right. She didn't. He glanced toward the front counter. But we do. She nodded, still processing. I'd like your help for the next few hours, he said. You know the store better than I do. I want to talk to the team. One by one. You think you could help coordinate that? Riley straightened. Yeah. I can do that. By mid-morning, Mira was gone. Carla had collected her badge and access credentials. Peyton stationed himself in the manager's office, bare walls, a dusty fan, and a whiteboard cluttered with outdated notes. One by one, he brought in the staff. Elias came in first, arms crossed but eyes steady. You don't talk much, Peyton said. Doesn't mean I'm not paying attention. I figured that. Peyton leaned forward. I saw how much you carry here. You ever asked for help? Elias shook his head. Didn't think it'd change anything? It will now, Peyton said. Starting next week, we're upgrading your hours to full-time with benefits. You've earned it. Elias blinked once. You serious? Completely. The next person was the new hire from the pet aisle, Drew. He looked nervous. No one trained me, he said quickly. But I was trying to follow the sheet she gave me. You were doing fine, Peyton said. That wasn't on you. You feel like you want to stay? Drew hesitated. Depends. Is it gonna be like it was? No, Peyton said. It won't. Riley came in last. I don't know what to say, she admitted. I've never seen that happen before. A manager getting fired like that. It wasn't about making a statement, Peyton said. It was about accountability. He leaned back. You've been carrying more than anyone knew. School home here. We're putting in for a shift lead position. If you want it, it's yours. Her eyes widened. I'm still part-time. Not anymore, he said. We'll work with your schedule. And it comes with a raise. She looked down, then up again. Why are you doing this? Because no one should have to earn basic decency, Peyton said. You deserve to be supported, not punished for showing up. By noon, he'd spoken to everyone. Carla returned with paperwork for a temporary assistant manager, someone from another store who'd help stabilize things. Out on the floor, the atmosphere had shifted. Not lighter, not yet, but calmer. Like the store had taken a breath it hadn't realized it was holding. Peyton walked the aisles, noting what needed updates: the outdated signage in health and beauty, the broken display hook in hardware. It wasn't just about people. The physical space had been neglected too. He stopped near a display of school supplies and watched as Elias helped a customer find the right binder for her daughter's class list. No rush. No tension. Just quiet help. When Elias returned to the cart, Peyton approached. Next week, he said, we'll be bringing in an extra set of hands. You'll get more support. You won't be closing alone anymore. Elias gave a short nod. Appreciate it. Peyton moved to the front. Riley was handling a return as a woman explained her receipt had gotten wet in the rain. Riley solved it in under a minute, offering a printed copy and a replacement without calling anyone for approval. Peyton waited until the customer left. You didn't hesitate, he said. I've done that return a dozen times, she replied. You'll be training the next team lead, he said. She gave a small laugh. You're serious again, aren't you? Always. He stepped back, taking it all in. The store still had a long way to go. But it was no longer invisible. He would return in a week, then again a month after that. Not to inspect but to listen. For now, though, he walked to the door, nodded once to Elias, and stepped into the sunlight. The following Friday, Peyton returned to store 11, not undercover, not as a visitor, but as the owner of a place he now understood in a way he hadn't before. The sun hadn't fully risen when he stepped through the employee entrance, but the store was already humming with quiet movement. Elias was unloading a fresh shipment near the back, sleeves rolled and eyes focused. Riley stood near the front, clipboard in hand, walking the new cashier through the register's functions. Peyton didn't interrupt. He just watched for a moment, nodding to himself. Carla arrived 20 minutes later, carrying 2 folders and a tired smile. "We finalized the shift lead paperwork," she said. "And the assistant manager from Store 3 is settling in. Quiet type, but solid." "Good," Peyton said. "We're going to need steady hands." He walked the floor slowly, noting the small changes. A new "Help Us Help You" sign had gone up near the service desk. A floor mat had been placed near aisle 12, the same aisle where a customer had slipped not long ago. The mop display was now secured with brackets. But the biggest change wasn't structural. It was in the faces. Elias no longer looked over his shoulder between tasks. The new cashier, Heather, laughed nervously at one of Riley's jokes without glancing toward the office, like she didn't expect to be scolded just for smiling. Peyton waited until the morning rush had calmed before gathering the staff in the break room. There were only 6 of them that day, covering floor and registers, but every one of them showed up, standing or leaning against the wall. He didn't sit. "I want to thank you all," he began, "for showing up these last few weeks. Not just physically, but emotionally. I know it hasn't been easy." No one spoke, but a few nodded. "Some of you have been carrying more than any one person should have to. That's changing. Today, we're setting the foundation for what this store and this company will become moving forward." He paused before continuing. "First, Riley, you've accepted the shift lead role. Starting Monday, you'll be trained on scheduling and inventory rotation. We'll adjust your hours to fit your class load, and your new rate starts immediately." Riley blinked. "I thought I'd have to wait." "You already waited longer than you should have." She looked down, gripping the clipboard with both hands. "Elias," Peyton continued, "you're officially full-time. You'll have consistent closing support starting next week. That means no more back-to-back late nights without coverage. We're also approving your healthcare benefits retroactively to the beginning of the month." Elias raised one eyebrow. "That's unexpected. It's overdue." He turned to the others. "For everyone else, we're launching a support line directly to Corporate HR Anonymous if you want it. If you ever feel unsafe, unheard, or unsupported, you'll have a direct path to report it, and someone will follow up. Personally." Heather shifted a little in her seat. "Does that mean, if something happens again, someone listens?" "No," Peyton said. "It means someone acts." He took a breath and looked around the room. "That includes me. I'll be visiting stores in person every few weeks. Not to make speeches, to see, to listen." A silence settled in the room. Not uncomfortable, just full. Then Elias cleared his throat. "Store feels different already," he said. "Not just because of who's gone, because of who's paying attention." Peyton nodded once. "We intend to keep it that way." After the meeting, the team returned to their stations. Peyton stayed behind, reviewing the posted schedule on the break room door. It was still tight. Staffing couldn't be fixed overnight, but the changes were real. No more single-person closings, breaks scheduled with breathing room, and the rotating weekend shifts evenly split. As he stepped back onto the floor, Riley was near the front again, helping Heather fix a mis-scanned coupon. Peyton approached as she finished. "She'll be ready to solo by next week," Riley said. "She's sharp." Heather smiled, still a bit nervous. "I've worked retail before, but this feels like it's not stacked against you." Peyton offered. Exactly. He turned to Riley. I need your help with something else, too. She straightened. Sure. What is it? There's an opening on the employee advisory board. It's a rotating seat from our retail locations. I want someone who knows what it's like to be on the floor and isn't afraid to speak up. She hesitated. That sounds like a big step. It is. But you've already taken bigger ones. She bit her lip, then nodded. Okay, I'll do it. Good. Carla will send the briefing materials. You'll join the next meeting remotely from the office here. He walked the aisles again after that, slowly. A man with 2 small kids was asking about a price check on a humidifier. Before Peyton could say a word, Elias stepped in from the side and helped him, explaining the difference between 2 models in plain language. No hesitation. No frustration. Peyton stepped back, letting it happen. Later that day, as he prepared to leave, he found Elias outside during a short break, leaning against the loading dock railing and finishing a sandwich. You've been quiet today, Peyton said. Elias shrugged. Just working. Feels good to work without waiting for something to go wrong. Peyton leaned beside him. That's the goal. They watched a delivery truck turn out of the lot. You know, Elias said after a pause, when you first showed up, I thought you were just another temp, real green. I almost offered to show you how to tape a box properly. Peyton laughed. You should've. I didn't think you'd last the week. Neither did Mira. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Elias nodded once, slow and deliberate. You changed things. Not just here. I had to, Peyton said. Because if the people who run this place don't show up, then we have no right to expect anyone else to. Inside, Riley was finishing her shift notes, jotting down product gaps and a few customer requests. She didn't rush. There was time now. Heather wiped down the register screen, humming under her breath. It wasn't loud, but it wasn't silent anymore either. Peyton looked around one last time before stepping out into the evening. The store wasn't perfect. It wasn't fixed, but it was finally honest. It had a heartbeat again. And this time he was listening.